Hello everybody and welcome. Sorry for the advents, I've been a bit engrossed in Guild Wars 2. I don't know if you guys are interested in seeing Guild Wars 2 content on this channel as well as gigantic stuff. Who knows? But anyway, jumping along with the video, so I'm going to be talking over Ashen skills today in a lot more detail on how to use them and when to use them, as well as just generally what they do, because they're not exactly explained very well in some cases. Right off with Ashen's basic attack called Slash. It starts off as a melee attack. You can upgrade it to range if you so wish, but the way it starts out of is a 3-hit combo. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, so on. But this will also integrate with your right click, which is your thingy to control Kador, your skills to control Kador in general. So you'll want to use this in conjunction with your left click, because any targets you actually hit with your left click will automatically give Kador triple damage. So basically, it'll just do more damage after you've hit a target. So you just got to remember to keep Kador more or less centered around you. You can hit them and then pull back and let Kador carry on hitting them. It'll only last for about 3 seconds after you hit them though, so just be prepared for that. So you'll always have to constantly hit the enemy. Also with Ashen's basic attack, you can do a dodge attack, which looks exactly like this. She'll just lunge forward but swing a sword from behind and round, so you just got to remember that attack pattern, because a lot of heroes chuckle over the head, where Aisling is a swing from the left hand side, so her hitbox is going to be rotating on the left hand side of her when you're going in. So now doing Aishling's jump attack, her jump attack hitbox goes over her head and down to the floor, so you can actually hit targets going over you as well as aiming for the enemy's back. So just remember that. So if you watch, you jump, it all goes over, and you can hit them as they travel over you. But also, don't forget this, every jump attack, and if you hit the enemy in the back, it is a cripple. So you can cripple enemies about 4 times before your stamina does run out. So you can just keep on doing this. And if your team's following you, you can just constantly just keep them crippled, and your team just pummels them to death, which is really nice to do. Do it all the time. Abuse the cripple stun until it gets nerfed. Which I do hope it does, because melee is absolutely toxic with it. So now moving right along to Ashen's left mouse button skill, or her basic skill, depending on which one you want to play on, so you instantly know what it is, because I forgot the controller layout. But anyway, if you go on to here, so Kador does an extra 15% damage to recently struck foes, as well as the triple damage from foes being struck, so which is really nice. But most of the time you want to be going for your weakness, so you'll go into your foes reproof, because every hit stacks up to -5 damage and stacks up to 5 times, which is really nice, especially if you're going for that weakness on the enemy, so they won't be able to deal no damage. So if you constantly just stack this, and if you stack it enough before Trip actually focuses on you, you will literally just void all her damage, which is really funny to do. Father's Flame you will rarely take unless you're going to build max damage Aisling in linked with Charnock or Beckett if they're using fire, but you'll also probably want to take Kador with his fire ability on your right mouse button. Both of these skills more or less do nothing in the way of change Ashen's skills, they just apply on a hit effect. So what you get with LMB is what you get with LMB on your left path. So when playing melee Aisling, you need to remember to control the terrain and control your movement around the map. So you're going to have a lot more advantage using the high ground and coming down onto the low ground. So just constantly just remember that, because not many people look up. So if you're up and they're down and you just jump on them, well fine, you're going to have them, they're going to be yours. But all you got to remember is your momentum is going to carry you to victory as a melee Aisling. Right, now moving right across to Spectral Wave, so range Aisling. This still applies triple damage to Kador, so you are in a safe spot if you really want to just constantly hit targets like so. So this basically changes her attack, so she can't do dodge attacks or jump attacks anymore, so she can only just do a dodge, but she can't do jump attacks or dodge attacks. But the good thing about this, even if you lose all your stamina while you're jumping, you still keep that momentum. You don't get that sorry state you get normally from jumping, to say that you've ran out of stamina. If I stop jumping, you get that sorry state. But as soon as you activate this, you're constantly just somehow keeping that anti-state of jumping. I don't know what's going on here right now. But as soon as I let go of the attack, I end up in this sorry slow state, which is really awkward. You can't exactly do much in it because you're pretty limited. But as soon as you start jumping and then left clicking, you can keep your jump momentum. So you can more or less jump about as Aisling as range as much as your heart's content. Just remember, you ain't getting away for shit if you're out of stamina. So when playing range Aisling, you want to be sitting more or less in the middle line supporting your team. You don't want to be too far forward because you'll just be mincemeat, and you don't want to be too far back because you'll just be trip food. So as long as you're in the center by your team, but not in the center with your team, so you want to be standing around the Beckett area kind of. So now moving right onto the upgrades. So both upgrades more or less do what the melee Ashen does. They don't change the skill, they only upgrade a status effect on the skill. Most people will take armor just because of the extra armor it gives to your team. As long as your team are outputting enough damage, there is no need to go for Spectral Might because your team is putting out enough damage. But if your team is kind of squishy, you probably want to go for Spectral Defense to bulk them out so they can put out the more damage. So there is counters and offsets in these two, so basically you can get the plus 20 armor so they can do more damage. Or, if you know they're going to probably like drop the team so fast, you might as well go for Spectral Might without any offset onto that. So it's kind of the counterbalance of what your team's building, how it's built, and what you want to do. But what's nice about this, any target you hit will actually gain that. So you just got to keep on just making sure you're hitting your team and hitting the enemy. Just remember the timer on it is about 5 seconds before it wears out, and then you can reapply it. But so there is not always that need to constantly just hit your team. So you can always dish damage to enemies and not just your team. So any target you hit, more or less Kador attacks. And as it's 5 seconds on the, you don't always have to hit Kador. Say that was long enough to just kill the monster and not even apply an effect onto Kador. So that concludes Ashen's left mouse button for melee Aisling and range Aisling. Range Aisling is a support skill that's going to be utilizing your team's damage and not your own. And melee Aisling is going to be bolstering up more of in the same lines as Paco, so you're going to be constantly just pushing the enemy, keeping a bit of pressure on them, and you're just going to be a bit more aggressive, but you're not a tank officially, so don't play her like a tank, because Kador's not a meat shield at the end of the day. If he dies, you die. Thank you all for watching. I hope this has given you a better insight into melee and range Aisling for her left mouse button attack. I've decided to break it down into left mouse button, right mouse button, focus, Q and E, mostly because I feel like the videos are going to be generally too long, because it's going to be about an hour-and-a-half video for me to explain everything on Aisling, and I feel like breaking it down into smaller chunks. Unless you guys prefer longer videos, just please let me know in the comments. So then my next video will probably be a bit longer, otherwise I will leave it about 10-minute videos for every skill, which would be a reasonable amount for Aisling. And thank you all for watching. See you all on the flip side. Feel free to like and subscribe. Bye!